Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 19 of Powerbombshells. We're just two broads talking about the wrestling we watch. And if you saw last week's episode, which was a live stream, you will notice that Mel was not here because she was hashtag in Chicago.
Hashtag in
So the
Chicago.
ones of us who were hashtag not in Chicago, we did a live stream, and you'll see we had this lovely little banner that
I'm so glad you guys did
mainly
that.
mainly made to pop Mel.
Oh no, it was great because I did watch back because I appreciate big shout out to all it was such a fun you guys
Yeah.
had fun and it was fun to listen to you guys talk
I'm glad
about
you
the
enjoyed it.
stuff
Yeah, we
and
had a lot of fun. Like the show Forbidden Door itself was a really fun show, and then doing the live stream ended up being even like it just being ended up being just as fun because we just had a good time talking about it, which I think is really nice to have a pay-per-view that like I mean, of course it mattered and there are things that came out of it that matters, but overall it was just a really fun thing basically for fans to enjoy. It was it was more or less like a fan appreciation thing almost like because of the
it
way it went down.
It was so nice to see because I tried to listen to as many as I could of everyone because I have podcasts that I really like on
Right.
this network and other networks.
Sure.
So I wanted to hear people's reaction, and it was great that it oh my gosh, good, okay, it felt that good too. So it was yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so
Yeah, it's
that
always
felt
cool to
nice.
see like what it's like for somebody when you're at an event live and then seeing like how it plays out at home, like how it comes off at home, especially because live is so cool because you get the experience and you get to feel like the collective like enjoyment, but then you don't get the commentary. And like we got really good at commentary, and I know you were talking about that, how you went back to listen, and
I
like we
need to
had
go find. It's tracking down a copy of this
yeah.
is I may have to do some things that I wouldn't otherwise do to find a listen back /
Hmm.
playback because
Well,
it
I
sounds like
heard
it
that
was wonderful.
it was. I heard the big brand over in Japan has been pulling stuff down. They were like on top of streams and things like that,
I hope
which I'm guessing that's for us.
someday somehow there is a way because
Maybe I use my friends login like because two people can watch on Bleacher Report at the same time, and so Matthew and I, that's generally like Nikki and I will watch from here, and then Matthew will watch at a friend's house, and we just use his account. So maybe I'll have to ask Matthew if I can give you his login so that you
I
can
was
watch
gonna
it.
actually, I even said, I was like, you know what, I'm willing to throw, the replay money at it if I can
Oh,
find a
I
replay.
mean, you could, but yeah, I
I
can just
mean, if
see.
if that's
Let
fine. I
me,
mean,
yeah, I'll
yeah,
ask and see if we can
yeah.
get if I can get some login information so you can hear it because it was
'Cause
the
it's a
show like I
72-hour window, and I don't know if I've missed the window.
okay.
And it
Yeah.
was like, I'm really close, but I
Well,
might be able to
you were
make it.
kind of busy during that window.
Yeah, yeah,
You were kind of doing some things. So you were doing some traveling and so watching a lot of live wrestling.
yeah. Yeah. This was a crazy week. I want to hear what you did before I
Okay.
started talking about what
Yeah.
I
So
did
I
because
did.
I don't want to yam around forever. And I know that Sam wasn't like, oh, put everything on pause. Mel's going to have a good time.
Well, yeah, I did, and I was telling you before. I was like, I watched the shows that you were at because those are what I would have watched anyway. So I did watch Forbidden Door. I watched. Of course, Blood and Guts, and I watched Rampage. But I watch Impact every week. It's not something I always, I've thought about that before. I was like, we don't really talk about Impact, and I guess mainly because Brace for Impact, that's their whole thing. I mean, obviously there's a Dynamite podcast too, but I was like, so I do watch Impact on a weekly basis. It's just not all. I don't generally watch it live. Usually, I've told you this before. Usually, it's because it comes on when Grey's Anatomy is on, and I've been watching that for 18 seasons. So that's my priority. And then I
Yeah.
thought about it the other night. I was like, wow. I was like, Impact has been on long, like 2 years longer than Grey's Anatomy has. It's like, but I've seen every single episode of Grey's Anatomy, and there's a lot of TNA I miss. But then a lot of that too is also just access, like because I would have access to TNA, and then like the channel, the cable provider would like drop it, and then I wouldn't have access to it. but then so I couldn't get in the habit of watching it. Like there would be
that's
weeks
annoying.
at a time where I'd forget about it because I wasn't, because you're so ingrained with Monday Night Raw, and then the SmackDown was on Friday, and then it was on Thursday, and it was on Friday. But those are like the two, like your week is ended by WWE programming, and so it's ingrained like Monday night, and this is what you're doing, and so you don't really think of. So with Impact, it was for a while. It was like I would, and then it was on, like we had to watch it on Twitch for a while, and it was just So but yeah, so I do watch it.
Because of my age, I am one of the few remaining homes that actually utilizes a satellite, and so Access TV has always been something that I could access. And listening to people talk about the never-ending battle to finally reach it. It was amazing that so many people were able to get the New Japan stuff. But I mean, I do exactly what you do and I'm a little further behind because I watch it. I like Impact. I appreciate what they're doing. I like that there's third brand out there, and I enjoy a lot of their wrestlers, and I like the crossover between Strong and so that's something that's fun for me. So it's I'll watch when it's like we need to watch something right now. We're sitting down, we're gonna have some dinner, or we're gonna hang out with the dogs and do some stuff, or just need to watch something that feels good to watch. And it's like, oh, Impact, we got some Impacts to catch up on. So and so I watch those, and I mean I watch those guys just because they keep me up to date. And then when I get to watch the matches, I catch up with them eventually.
That's
eventually I do. But it is in my queue. It is one of the ones that, again, with so much content, we talk about it all the time, and having to pick and choose. There we are. But I've dropped some money on a couple of their pay-per-views over the last year too. Because it's been and I don't feel like I'm getting robbed in any way. No. It's well worth it.
Slammiversary was a really good show. Like I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And so and I generally watch on Thursday nights. It's usually after it's already aired. And then I can also, and they have really long commercial breaks, so it's nice to be able to fast forward through them because their commercial breaks are like 5 minutes. Like especially I notice it a lot when I'm timing women's matches. And so I'm like, wow, it's like 5 minutes. I was like, how long are the women actually getting to wrestle?
It's tough when the network like that. They're like what E tier, so they need a lot of advertising.
Yeah, they do,
and but it's not really pertinent to us.
No. But yeah, so I did not have a chance to watch Against All Odds because it was Friday night, and I actually forgot that it was on until I got home because I was out running some errands. And the main match I wanted to see was Motor City Machine Guns versus Chris Bay and Ace Austin, because obviously if you've watched the show you know that I love Motor City, and then Ace and Chris are two of my favorite current wrestlers, and so I've been wondering how this was going to work with them being in Bullet Club, because they've been opponents for so long and now they're on the same side, so can they coexist type of thing. And so I heard that match was the first match, and I heard it was really good, so I'm going to go back. And of course there was a couple of women's matches on there, and so I definitely will try to circle back around. But as I told Mel, I was watching Stranger Things instead because it's hard to not get spoiled. And plus I wanted to see it anyway. So hopefully I'm hoping that maybe later today I can try to catch Against All Odds. But I did see the Go Home show the night before. And the main event was Chris Sabin versus Frank Kazarian, and they were supposed to wrestle. They did wrestle several weeks ago. They were facing each other, and then like the match was really great, and then Honor No More showed up and like got involved, and so the match never completed. And so they finally gave us that match on Thursday, and it was incredible. Like the things that those two are still doing after all this time. Like these guys are in their 40s and they're still killing it, and they're still just they're on the same level as people younger than them. Like they haven't lost a step, and like it's insane like to see. And then you see Frank Kazarian's going back and forth between Impact and AEW, and he's just putting on these really great matches between both companies. And I think sometimes that and I've also talked about how Motor City gets overlooked with the tag teams of their era because of the things, they weren't as on TV as much. They didn't get some of the spotlight that obviously the Hardys and things like that gotten.
Right.
I think they're finally starting to get the flowers that they deserve. I think now a lot
It's
more
the time.
yeah, and a
We're
lot of the
finally
wrestlers
in a time where it's like
yeah.
we need they are it, you know, it's competitive.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
they
Yeah.
can shine and people are
Yeah,
interested
definitely.
because there's like, oh my gosh, I see this guy on this other promotion and then I go I mean, because of these crossovers, people are tracking these things down and then it's they're able to get that. It's I love it.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I do too.
I mean, I've seen Alex Shelley now twice, and there was a GCW show that I recently saw him, and then I saw him back at the, you know, Knights of Columbus Hall on the Evolve shows. But
yeah,
I mean, it. Yes, I'm totally with you. I that was like one of the ones I did want to check out because I saw how good it was.
Yeah, and I think the Brace for Impact guys called it an instant classic, and that's an extremely accurate description. Like, it was fantastic, and I'm glad they got the full, like, they main evented, so they got the full, like, they got a proper like showcasing of the match. There was no outside interference. You know, Alex Shelley was there on the outside supporting Chris, but he didn't get involved. Because of when the filming was, Tracy Brooks was still there because, you know, she was at Slammiversary and she kind of got involved in a match at Slammiversary. So her and their son were in the crowd, and they were talking about how Alex Shelley is a big part of basically Chris Sabin's family, and so it was appropriate that he was there while Kazarian had his family there. So it was really cool a moment for them, especially because, you know, this is the 20 years of Impact, and they're both, you know, such big parts of Impact's history over the last 2 decades. And so I thought that was really cool that Impact honored that and gave them that moment and gave them the spotlight. And so that was really cool to see. And if you, if you've got a way to watch Impact, like, definitely go out of your way to watch it. That was a really, really good match. And I'm very happy that they got that they got to show what they can still do, and they got the respect from the company, and there was no outside interference. They just got to go out there and do what they're the best at, and it was really, really good.
That's awesome. It's always good to hear what those guys are doing well.
Yes, definitely. So that was really the only other wrestling I watched this week. I still have got to get caught up on Strong. I really, really want to see Tom Lawler versus Fred Rosser, even though I know it happened. I was going to watch the match anyway, but after I saw what Fred Rosser looked like after the match, I was like, holy crap, I've got to go watch this. So I was like, I need to see what's happening. Plus, like, I need to get caught up anyway, since they'll be here at the end of the month, and so I want to make sure
oh, that's right.
Yep,
because you've got 2 good shows coming up, right?
I've got Strong this month, and then GCW is next month, and I think GCW tickets are going on sale this week. They haven't released like anything from the card or anything, so I'm wondering if they'll announce something or that someone will be there, because though I do know the weekend before they come to Charlotte, they've got Maki Ito, and I was like, please announce her for Charlotte. I was like, if I miss her by 1 weekend, I'm gonna be so mad. I was like, please bring her. So hopefully we'll get her. I'm assuming we'll get you know, a lot of the originals and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see who we get and what they're doing. But I was like, so they're basically selling. It sounds like they're going to be selling tickets just because it's GCW's first time in Charlotte, and that's kind of what they're counting on. But hopefully they'll sneak us something this week that'll, you know, kick tickets into gear before they go on sale, and so we can see what we're getting. But so I've got 2 big shows coming up, which I'm excited about, because my local promotion has not been running. They've ran twice this year. They ran they had their big PWX X16 tournament back in March, which is generally a January show, and then they had the Lucha show in the parking lot.
Right. Oh, that's right.
They had that one, and that's it. That's all they've had this year. So I'm definitely missing out. Generally, because I'm usually there every single month, and so it's interesting to not have that.
So frustrating.
It is. And so I'm like, are we ever going to have a show again? I was like, what's happening? But I know that at one point they were like looking for a new building to run shows out of, and so I think that's part of it. And I'm sure just people's schedules are probably all over the place too. So hopefully we'll get some more consistent showings. But in the meantime, at least I've got these 2. And then I've heard, because I'm so behind on Deadlock Pro, I saw the first 4 episodes, and I'm way behind because they've had quite a few episodes
What?
since
You're
then.
behind on something?
Yeah, shocking. But I did see, because my friend Matthew, he went to, because they've been filming in Raleigh, and so he went to a show that they had a few weeks ago, and he said it was so much fun. It was one of the most fun shows he's ever been to. The wrestling was great, and then he sent a screenshot yesterday. I can't remember if it was on Twitter or Facebook, but they have hinted that they are looking at places in Charlotte. So
Nice.
sounds like they're going to be running.
I've heard
down
good
here.
things about them.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I hope that they come down here because they've been bringing in really great talent, and then they're utilizing a lot of good North Carolina talent, like Andrew Everett, who is currently in DDT, which I knew he was going to Japan, and I didn't realize he was already there. And then I saw some tweets last night,
cool.
So he's already in DDT. They use their champion is Bojack, who is phenomenal. Like, he's incredible. And so they use some really good talent. They brought Rosemary in for like some of their early shows, and they do intergender wrestling, which is really cool. And then there's a lot of really good talent there. So I'm really excited, and I hope they come down to Charlotte, because Raleigh's not that far of a drive, but my car is old and constantly has issues. So I was like, it'd be a little bit easier.
This economy.
Yeah, and then there's gas prices there's gas prices on top of that. So it's like, no, I'll just keep watching on YouTube for free. It's fine. I'll eventually
better than nothing.
Yes, it is much better. And so I've got to get caught up on that. And I know I say that like every other episode. I'm like, hey, I gotta get caught up on Dead Pro. But then I'm like, I'm gonna watch something else. So one day
there'll always be like a downtime when you need something to do, and you'll always be able to at least go back to most of the stuff.
So. Exactly. And then I think the pay-per-views they do through like their Patreon or something, but my friend buys them, so hopefully I think they can be accessed like later. So hopefully I can just use his login so I can go back and watch their pay-per-views and see what's happening, or I can just watch or I can just do like you used to have to do in the back in the day, and you just miss the pay-per-view and have to wait till the next episode to find out what happened. And then WWE has gotten where they just show pictures. They don't show the actual like clips of what happened. You just get the still shots and have to like piece it together.
Yeah, they are like stingy with their.
They are.
Well, because they want you to go buy that pay-per-view still.
They want you to sign up for Peacock, I guess.
I guess.
Premium.
I get it with my cable. I get it with my internet, because I go through Comcast. So
okay. So
part of you get Comcast TV as part of your internet thing. It's a weird thing that they do, and that's what's in my area. That's the quickest. Yeah. So
I have access to Peacock like I used to, but since I don't watch their events anymore, except for like WrestleMania, I was like, I'm not going out of my way to watch this. But I did see some results from Money in the Bank last night. I saw it from Slack, and then I saw it on Twitter. And so I saw some things that happened, and it was interesting because a lot of people were like, why are they not promoting this pay-per-view as much? Like, Money in the Bank used to be like a bigger deal.
Yeah.
And they were like, but then somebody made the point last night, they were talking about how it was a really solid pay-per-view, and they're like, usually the pay-per-views that they don't care much about end up being the shows that have the really good matches. Yeah, I heard like Street Profits and the Usos had like a really great match. I think a lot of people said that was like match of the night. And I saw that Liv Morgan won Money in the Bank, which I know fans have been like clamoring for her to do, to do something big, and they wanted her to win. And then she ended up cashing in later last night. She beat Ronda Rousey, and now she's the SmackDown Women's Champion. So I saw and it was really nice. I saw Ruby Soho tweet, and she was really happy for her, and
cool.
because that friendship was still, was still there. Yeah. So that was really nice to see that she was like smiling from ear to ear, and she was so proud of her. And so I was like, that was really cool to see. And so, so that was some things that were happening last night. And then I found a thread of this woman. I don't think she watches wrestling at all. Like, she knows I know from her thread, she knows who Roman Reigns is. And she thought he was going to be on here last night. And then it was just, I think they were teasing SummerSlam. And she was like, how are you going to tease Roman and he's not even here? But she was so funny because she didn't know like anybody's names. And she was like, she was referring to somebody as David Bowie, and I think it might have been Asuka, but I'm not positive if that's what she was referring to. It was during the women's main event, Money in the Bank match, and what I can't remember what she finally learned Liv's name and called her by her name, but she was calling her something else, and she called somebody I think later on. I'm not sure if she's talking about Carmella, but she was calling her Carrie Underwood, and it was like, it was just her tweets were really funny, and she's like, why are they throwing ladders at each other? And she's like, ladders are heavy to move. She's like, I've moved one once and it was really hard. And she's like, how are they moving? Like her thread was just really funny. And I was like, it's refreshing to see somebody who watch a wrestling pay-per-view who doesn't really know what's happening. And she was just reacting to everything. And she was called street. It took me a second, and she was talking about, she was called them Wet and Wild, and it was the Usos because their hair. She's like, why is their hair wet? And she's like, and she was calling Street Profit the Velvet, something about because of their outfits, and she's calling them the Velvet something, or I don't know. It was just really funny.
Like Velvet Underground or something like that.
Something close to that, but it was really funny, and you could tell like she was into it. And then she was talking about she was laughing about Austin Theory taking selfies. She's like, he's not that cute. Why is he taking like why is he up here posing with the phone? And she's like, they're out here slinging appetizers from Applebee's while this man's taking selfies. Like, it was her thread was just really funny, and I was like, and then she asked why drag queens don't wrestle, and she said she would watch Drag Queens Championship Wrestling.
I mean,
she said because she's like, drag queens are so dramatic. She's like, why don't they wrestle? She was like, I would watch that.
I mean, there's Exoticos and
yeah, exactly.
So I mean, she might dig on that.
I found the thread because Pollo Del Mar was talking about it, and she was like,
funny.
And Pollo was like, well, there are some drag queens in wrestling. It was really funny, so I enjoyed her thread, and it was refreshing to see somebody who clearly did not know what was going on. Oh, I don't know what match she was talking about. And she was like, I'm bored. She was like, bring back the ladders. I don't know what I couldn't figure out what she was watching, but she was not feeling whatever that was. But so it's always entertaining to see wrestling through other people's eyes who don't watch on a regular basis. Because, obviously wrestling is silly. We've talked about that.
Oh my gosh.
There's some very serious things with this. There's some very, I could only imagine how she would react to somebody like Danhausen or Orange Cassidy.
Oh my gosh. It's like, the further off you get from the normal track, it's like, I mean, WWE and even AEW is weird enough, like the main people, but I mean, Darby Allin, Danhausen, Orange Cassidy.
And Impact has been using, because it's the 20th anniversary, they've been using Shark Boy lately. So I can only imagine a reaction to somebody if you didn't watch Shark Boy the first time around and then see him out here. I can only imagine that some people are probably like, why? But then you, on the other hand, you look at something like Blood and Guts, and they're probably like, what the hell is this? They're just
each other, and I would love to hear how she feels about that situation.
Yeah, me too.
That got real in all sorts of ways. Mm-hmm. So I mean,
very much. So so I guess we will. Speaking of that, we'll just get into what I keep referring to as story time with Mel Gray, baby. And you saw a lot, because I was thinking we probably should count up how many matches you watched last week, because you watched 12 from the buy-in and Forbidden Door, and then I don't know how many was on. Well, there was 4 or 5 on Dynamite. I think there was 4 because it was Blood and Guts, the women's match.
I didn't think to count them.
Yeah, Ego.
I was like the hours,
right? Oh, I can imagine. And then there was, and then. Oh, and then there was a few matches. Was there any did they do Dark and did they do?
Yeah, they did Dark and Elevation, and then
I wondered. God, that's a long.
They got really smart. Actually, I think they used to do Dark and Elevation at different in different times, and they got really smart. They did it right before.
Yeah,
so we got there. We found the area around our stadium is really fun, and so we went down there and we hit the Founders and. It was like, all right, cool. We're going to go in here. And they did Dark and Elevation. They did Dynamite, and then they did Rampage. So
that's a lot. Yeah. Cause I've done a couple, when I've done the Dynamite before, they usually do when I went, they did 3 or 4 dark matches, Dynamite. And then they did they didn't do Rampage. I think Rampage must have been live, because had Rampage started then when I went? I think so. But then they did Dark, and it was Dark's 100th episode, so they did like extra stuff, and there was like John Moxley was on that show, because obviously, because they wanted to make Dark a big deal, so they brought in like some big stuff. So it was a very, like, it was fun, but it was a really long night. So I can imagine after you sat through Forbidden Door and then having to sit through all that, that you saw, God, probably what, 30, you had to see like at least 30 matches last week, right?
Probably. I mean, it was like 5 hours on Sunday, and then it was close to 5 on Wednesday again.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, we got at least one down day, basically, because like we went in on Friday and met up with some friends on Saturday and wandered all around the city. So that was, fun and awesome and cool. And Chicago, cool town. Oh my gosh, I'm totally in love with Chicago now. Wow. It blew my mind my first time there. And I was just like, this is rad. I love it. And so we did get to do stuff like that. But then, it was basically up, get breakfast, go over to United Center. You can get there by the trains. Trains go everywhere. Oh my gosh.
That's very nice.
Every city in America should be ashamed of themselves. They should have a transportation system that's
they really should. Yeah, because I was on the outer part of Chicago mostly, and I was like, Charlotte they've got to do something with their transit system. I'm like, we can't even get to Raleigh. Come on now.
This is like amazing, and it runs perfectly and in a loop, and for like we came into the B airport, we came into Midway, and so, but it's not, because you can jump, there's a train station there, and it just loops around, and it dropped us like 2 blocks from our hotel. Not even, I mean, it was great.
That's nice.
Very walkable.
Makes it, when you've got that
I love
much
New
to do.
York. I love you. You're wonderful, but your MTA does not run this efficiently, and you cannot even walk in New York.
Right.
When we were in Madison Square Garden and stuff, there were a few times where it was like quicker to Uber to places.
That's insane.
Than it was to walk to places or to take the train. And it's like,
jeez,
it's great, but it's not. But you should go. But it's like, and I'm not like, I love you, New York, but you're not as efficient transportationally as and I'm probably starting some beef with some people, but
the truth is the truth, as Matt Hardy would say.
And I mean, and exactly. And I can't say shit because Detroit doesn't have any or has very little, and
Charlotte has very little too. So there's a lot of things I feel you.
Public transportation tangent there.
Listen, they're a little important topics. Well, when you're trying to get around, and of course, especially when you hear all the nightmares, like every single AEW pay-per-view is like the nightmare of people trying to leave and they can't find Ubers and things like that. It seems
and
like
WrestleMania 35.
Yeah, and I had issues at All In, and I see people still having issues. So yes, it is important to talk about transportation when going to these big shows.
Well, it was great. Important. I mean, it was perfect. They were ready. I mean, obviously they've had a lot of practice now because Chicago's had a lot of big ginormous shows.
They have.
But that
seems like even because we talked about it on the live stream that we were a little worried about how like the fans would react at Forbidden Door, because like Chicago seemed like the last time that they had a show, because that was like the whole fiasco with Brandy Rhodes where they were just being terrible to her, and they seemed to be down on a lot of stuff. So then you start to wonder, like, are they getting a little bit of AEW fatigue? And then like the buy-in starts and Yoshihashi's getting big chance, which was great. I was like, good for him. So then I think the fans, so they were like, it seemed like it was a really positive thing, and that the
fans had a big dumb smile on my face the entire freaking night.
Good.
It warmed my heart to hear all the podcasters and live streamers that I watch and listen to say that it sounded like we were enjoying it, because Oh my God. It was like,
Well,
I had a couple, like our section, and I do actually, so I'm putting this out there right now. This is coming out there. Okay. Here's my beef.
so you can add us with whatever she's about to say.
Yeah, that's right. So, no, and this is like, this, I got beef with, Tony Khan is very, very concerned with the fan experience. And
he is.
We hear about that a lot. Well, we were in a hockey stadium, and hockey stadiums have those drop down banners that have the 360 view Jumbotron. On our side, and I mean, it wasn't terrible, like 300 levels a little bit up there, you know, it wasn't like it was impossible or anything. But on our side, they never retracted the banner. And we had kind of peppered within our area were a lot of people who I think that maybe they were like last minute walk-ups, or the girl in front of me, like I had to get a little huffy. Because they were like, they got right in front of us, just like right in the middle match, and her and her boyfriend are standing there like with their food, and I'm like, guys, can you guys, and they're just flapping away, and I'm just like, hey, there's a match going on and I'm watching it. Yeah. Can you please sit down? Right. And she was just, but I mean, she didn't know what was, I mean, she was sitting in her chair the entire time. There wasn't, I mean, I called it the wet blanket section a little bit, because the section over, I mean, you know, they were great and we were trying, but, and I do believe that if they had pulled that banner up, and the people in that section who aren't necessarily, maybe aren't used to it, or didn't have the ability to, you know, that it would have changed the dimension. It wasn't as if it did not affect the participation of the fans.
Well, that's good.
To the audience, clearly, from everything I've heard from everyone. But I do believe that it affected the experience in that section, because
it's understandable. Like, I saw the picture you tweeted, and I retweeted it to Powerbombshells, and so I could see how that would be frustrating, and it's in the way, and it takes away from, I mean, like, it doesn't, obviously, like you said, it doesn't take completely away from it, like you can still, but it does, it's a pain in the ass to have.
But you could see, if you looked, if you were able to like kind of inch around, you could see that you were getting up close facial expressions from
that's good.
You know what I mean? So that wasn't happening in our section. You weren't getting the corner reaction of, you know, someone being in a V4, or you weren't getting some of the stuff that, and there were camera guys down there that were filming reactions and filming a thing, and so you knew that there was some effect for the upper sections of that. And so I think that given, if they could have seen a little more reaction and a little more, I mean, just, it's a tiny thing, but it's not. I think that everyone else in the rest of the arena is getting that extra, in the upper deck is getting that those reactions, a shot of them. And then also, like, I had to listen to Observer the next day to know that they had dropped banners about the upcoming show in September.
Wow.
So if they were like, for example, if they were like trying to sell you things in the arena, where it was like, type your ticket section in right now and get 50% off at the AEW shop store, we didn't see those either. So I mean,
that's not good. So the marketing for you was not working.
I mean, so it wasn't like it was 100% bad.
Yeah.
When you consider fan experience, and then if you guys were marketing, I was like, what banners? I didn't see the banners. I could see this much of that, and we can retweet the picture again. But
yeah, definitely.
I'm just getting the negative. This is like, I have nothing else bad to say after this.
Well, it's frustrating. And like you said, because Tony does focus so much on fan experience, which the experiences I've had at every live AEW show I've been to, like, it's incredible. And so there are little things. Well, I mean, and that's not so necessarily little if it's taking away from like what you're trying to watch. And like you said, if you're being marketed to, you have no clue because you can't see them. So that is something that they should, I know they had like a million things to worry about, but that is a little thing that they should work, that they should work in the future. Because, we've talked about one of the issues that even though the fan experience has been really great, the ADA seating there's been issues with that. At every show I've been to with a friend of mine who does use a wheelchair, and how he's had a really hard time, and he's tried tweeting AEWs, never got a response. He's tried tweeting the venues and has never gotten a response. So those are things, especially when they have such stuff, with Culture City, which is incredible that they do all that stuff with trying to help fans who have sensory issues. And that's incredible. So if they're going to go that far, then they need to take the extra step and look at stuff with like the ADA and stuff like that. And then, like you said, and then the banner stuff too, that takes away from.
Well, and it's retractable.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Yeah, it's different if it's fixed, but like you said, it's retractable. So that's an easy fix.
It's meant to be. I mean, we were on the floor at Blood and Guts, and we could look up and see. And in Detroit, we retract all of it. But all right, so I got that out of the way, but I did want to put that out there because I do think it was important. Because
it is, and so
like if you affect, sort of, I think it didn't affect the the non-participation peppered around my section had.
They probably would have been non-participants anyway.
So do you
think they were going just because it was like the big thing that everybody was talking about and they just wanted to be part of it?
I think that there may have been in my section some people exactly like
just
that.
So they could say, oh, I went to Forbidden Door.
Well, what are all these people doing? And you live in a big city, that's a thing. I mean, I've lived in a couple of big cities, and that you do that. It's not just like the movie theater in a smaller city. It's like, oh, what's this big giant deal going on at the United Center? Let's see if they have any tickets left. At the end, and people go. I mean, and that is a thing. I do recommend.
There was a guy
in this situation because there were a lot of people there.
Yeah, when we went to All In, there was this guy sitting behind us with his two young kids. They made it to the show like 2 hours into the show, and we were trying to figure out, and I heard the guy was like really loud and obnoxious, and he was recording things. It was like, I don't know if he was live streaming or if he was like FaceTiming someone. I'm not sure what he was doing, but he said that like if I remember correctly, he bought tickets that morning and flew from LA to this show to be there. But yeah, exactly. And then, but his kids were bored. Like one kid just kept singing like very loudly because she was bored out of her mind. She didn't know what was happening. The other kid was like stomping around. Like the kids were being menaces because they didn't know what was happening. They didn't want to be there. And then the dad was just really loud and obnoxious. And he was just, he clearly was not familiar with anything going on really. Like he knew who a few wrestlers were, but he was definitely like, oh, this is a big thing in wrestling. Like I want to be there, like that type of thing. But he didn't know what was happening. And then he was yelling out things, and it was it was not a fun experience. So you definitely see that a lot in some cases where they're like, oh, I just want to say that I was there type of thing, which is definitely, so it sounds like that's kind of what's going on with that couple in front of you.
It was really, it didn't matter. It really didn't matter. I mean, that was.
I'm glad it didn't take away.
I was like, we were not going to scream any less loud. I was not going to try any less hard to get that murder grandpa chant over from my section. We really did try. But
Nikki and I have been those people like in our section, like where we try to like get loud and get people involved, and like the people around us are just sitting there like, I'm like, why are you at a wrestling show if you're not going to participate? Like if that's part of what makes it. I'm like, don't you know wrestling fans like to chant?
Yeah, right.
That's what we do.
And we did have a strip of people that were in there, and then and then it was awesome. It was like great, and it was awesome that Yoshihashi came running out, and we were all like happy to see him. So
glad, especially, and that's going to be something for him to see. A, that American fans care about him, and B, because he's been in Japan and hasn't really had that fan experience beyond clapping, like to have. So he has people chanting his name. Like I'm sure that was a huge deal for him. And then, like I think the chants for QT were probably louder, where they were booing. Those were very loud, but that's what he gets. moments. And if you've been watching Strong, you know that QT keeps showing up and insulting Shibata and things like that, and he keeps trying to recruit
Shibata
people.
pop. Can I tell you? Oh my god.
I can't even imagine.
Wow. I mean, you know what? All the people who said that Japanese wrestling and, you know, lucha and all these, like, you're wrong. We proved it. We were loud. It
was very loud.
There were moments where it was such a love fest. It was so great. Like, it didn't even matter if anyone was like, oh, I'm about this person. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm watching Swerve and and I'm watching, like, oh man, Okada is such a star.
He is.
And then the main event is the thing that I don't like. There was a moment, and I'm not even kidding, in that main event where if Tanahashi had won, I think that building would have been just as exciting.
I think so. I think
we were, and I did mention this. We'll get to that in a minute. But, there was a few times where everyone was literally chanting both.
Well, that's great. That's incredible.
You could hear that's definitely one of those Tanahashi Moxley.
Yeah, and it picked up on TV. Yeah, you could tell.
But it felt more like we were like, I don't know, not like, I don't want to say chanting because it wasn't like, but it felt like it was like everybody was so yes. It didn't matter. Yeah. There were times where people were like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't have cared who won. I mean, I wanted Tana, like we've talked about on a few episodes, like it would be really cool to have Tana win. And I was doing intermittently, so I wanted it, but I was like, but yeah, and of course, and I love Jon Moxley. He's one of my favorites. So that match was definitely one of those where the crowd would have been satisfied either way with whoever
There was
won.
A moment, and I mean, there were a few. There's probably like 3 specific moments that it was like you could feel it. And I think there were a lot of people in that building who were like in love with him and couldn't fully understand. It was like, he is the freaking ace of the universe. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter. I know Kevin Kelly it's hard to watch him drag himself up to those top ropes and do some of those spots.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, okay, but it did not matter. And no one, I mean, a high fly flow onto the floor.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was great. And then you could hear, and it was great. And I know you couldn't hear it, but to hear Kevin Kelly on the call, because, you know, he's so good when it comes to like the high five flow, and he's got he's so good at that stuff. So it was cool to hear it. And then that also kind of helps you, like, kind of pushes it to like, well, can he win it? Like, is Tana going to do this? Is he going to pull the upset? Like, and because I was like, it technically would have been an upset. I mean, even though he is, as Kevin said, the ace of the GD universe, like, it technically would have been an upset for him to win that match. And so, and having Kevin on the call kind of like pushed that with the momentum of the crowd. Like, he definitely was feeding off the crowd. So I think you guys did an incredible job of making it feel like, I mean, obviously we could see what was playing out in front of our eyes, but then to hear the crowd on top of it, just kind of like almost willing it to happen.
Oh man, it was, and I don't, you know, we were right there. It was part of the just what did my friend said? 17,000 indie fans who knew exactly what their job was.
Yeah,
and I was like,
"That's a great, yeah."
And it was, I mean, it's what it felt. That's what it felt like. It was awesome in that regard, and it was great to jump on Twitter and actually see that those guys were doing such a good job. Because I'm a big fan, so I know how good Kevin Kelly is anyway.
Yeah.
Also, like, hearing how that Taz was like really getting in on
Yeah,
the deal.
Taz was
and
great. Like I mean, he and Excalibur already have like a really good rapport and they
Oh,
do
yeah,
really
of
well
course.
together. But Taz is like, he knew his stuff. Like he knew what he was talking about. He was into it. Like it was not necessarily like, I mean, obviously as a fan, like because he was enjoying what he was seeing. So that helped. It was really authentic, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, the commentary they did a phenomenal job. That my only issue was that they didn't have Chris Charlton on commentary. They did backstage stuff with him. I would have loved to have him on commentary because he plays so well off of Kevin Kelly. And then there was also the match where and I talked about it on the stream, but where it was the Young Bucks match, and they were talking about because they kept saying yam bags, and I was like, Chris Charlton. And then they were like, I was like, Chris Charlton would just say what it is. Like, he doesn't care. I was like, Chris Charlton would have been perfect for that. I really missed him not being on the call for that, just because he's gotten to the point where he just doesn't care and he just says whatever we've talked about, like the Dick Togo comments he's made. And yeah, so I would have, that's my only complaint. And I know it's hard because they had so many people on commentary and they did a really good job. And another thing I really liked was that they had the Japanese ring announcer out there. I thought that was
mark cool. Out when that happened the first time. I was like, oh my God, they've got the Japanese guy and everything.
Yeah, I really wish
Justin Roberts was there. Real quick.
Yeah.
Big giant. I mean, in 2 days, I got to see that guy. That guy knows his job. He is the best. He is not just one of the best ring announcers out like that. I mean, he might be becoming one of the best ring announcers anywhere.
Yeah, he's very good. He knows
when they're off air. And it's him just in there and trying to keep the crowd that he knows really is hot.
Good. Yeah.
Hot. He's great. He is fantastic. Mm-hmm. He's reading people's signs and talking to people.
He does. Yeah, he's great.
Unbelievable. Big shout out to that guy. He is.
Yeah, because it's definitely, especially during the commercial breaks, like he keeps them focused and keeps their energy up so that when the cameras come back on, that the fans are still into it. Like, yeah, he's very good at that.
It's tough, great. Man. And especially with some of it's like, it's picture when you're in the stadium, you realize that you're in the picture and you're like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. And it's the in-between times, the down times, like he knows his job. And big shout out to him. And he did an amazing job there too. And that was a lot of fun. And oh my gosh, just when that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like both shows for really real. And it's, again, most of my time that wasn't spent chanting or clapping was spent with the biggest, like big, dumbest, like happiest, like, I mean, I should have, if I'd thought to take a selfie, it would have just been a big dumb grin on my face because of everything was.
Those are the best shows.
The worst part about it was like, Adam Cole getting hurt and those things.
Yeah, that sucked.
And
because that ending was weird.
When you were in there, the moment it happened, it started to feel weird. And
that's what I was gonna say. Could the crowd tell that he was hurt?
It was immediately. It was probably. It probably came through to us before it came through to you guys a little bit because it started to look like wait, what? Because there was an audible like moment where everyone kind of understood what they were watching, where it was like, oh crap, he's not, something's wrong.
Right.
And then, of course, it was like, well, that's not the finish because that's not. I mean, maybe it was the finish, but it wasn't the
It seemed like Adam Cole was
the end of the match. That was not the planned end of that match.
Definitely, because it was a little awkward because obviously Jay White is not going to pin Okada. For that, they're not going to have him get pinned at Forbidden Door, and so clearly Adam Cole was supposed to be the one to take that pin, but it was just really awkward because in the moment, Okada would have been like in that situation. He would be like, okay, well then I'm just going to switch it and go to Okada, but Okada is not going to get pinned. And Jay knew that. And Jay was like, so he had to pivot really fast. So it was kind of abrupt, awkward ending. And I saw of course there were like the stupid botch accounts who were like, I have most of them blocked, but they were talking about, they were like, why didn't he go for Okada? And people were like, you clearly don't watch New Japan. Like, they're not gonna pin Okada.
There were like, I think
No way.
because there were such smart wrestlers in that ring,
Yeah,
and they knew what was going on,
mm-hmm.
and it took a little bit because not everybody picked up on it right away, and so
Yeah.
they were trying to communicate it around to each other because it wasn't because of how spread out everything
Yeah,
was.
it's not like it was just
you could almost kind of see them all realizing what was going on.
Right.
And as they were realizing it, because you've got real professionals in there who understand, and they knew he was knocked silly, that wasn't like a leg or that was a potential brain. They did the absolute best possible job with what went on there. And just, I mean, you knew it and it sucked. And I mean, they said that, he walked off on his own, but Hangman and someone else were walking next to him as he left.
That's really good.
I mean, they weren't walking him out. Wasn't, but he had his kind of arms around him a little bit, and they were making sure that he was walking steady. And it was, and I mean, nobody in there is going to get mad about that situation.
No, because the wrestler's health is obviously the most important thing. And so, and it did suck, and it was unfortunate on top. I mean, just an ending.
And I mean, it
because of so many,
because of the injury, not because of the
ending. Oh yeah, that's what, I knew that's what
I just want to clarify.
I knew that's what you meant. It sucks because you never want to see somebody injured. And then on top of that, there were so many injuries coming in to Forbidden Door that it sucks on both sides because there was just so much going on, and then to have another one happen during the show, it was tough to see, and I hated that for him, and especially because it was such a big moment not that it wasn't a big moment for the other three, but for Adam Cole to kind of be, because he's obviously been positioned well in AEW, but to be in the ring where he's in there with a former champion, and technically two former champions, one AEW and one New Japan, and then he's in there with Jay White as well, the current champion,
the best wrestler in the world.
It's really so it's so that's I think that was a really big spot for Adam and for Adam Cole, and then to see him get hurt, that really sucks. That I guess if it was going to happen, it's good that it happened when it did, and it wasn't something like early in the match like what happened at Blood and Guts with was it Santana? No, it was Ortiz. Was it? Wait. Why did I just forget who that was? But he got injured early on in the match at Blood and Guts. And so at least with, this match, it was later in the match, and they could kind of quickly end it and do what they needed to do and get him out of there so that he could be attended to. Because obviously if it's a brain thing, you obviously want to have that looked at as quickly as possible. So it was.
Well, and at least by then it really felt like this is not going to be the only one of these. And you had the tag team match where FTR. Did you know those guys are over?
I had heard that they might have been. It's still up for debate, though. I don't know about that yet. I was going to ask you, besides because I know that the Tanahashi match was your favorite. Was there another match that you really really enjoyed a lot?
I would say that I didn't even, you know what? I'm going to put it out there. And it even got the lady in front of me. It was like, even involved is Orange Cassidy versus Will Ospreay. Damn.
Yeah, that was a really, really good match. And that's kind of what we talked about, that we knew Orange was that was a really good match for him to not have wrestled in a while. That was the perfect match to kind of bring him back and like show the fans and be like, this, Orange Cassidy. And, because somebody made I think it was on the stream, they were like, well, we know Orange Cassidy can go. Like, we don't have to keep reminding the fans. Like, we've seen it and fans know at this point. But it was just really nice to see. Like, he didn't miss a beat. Like, he came back from injury and he had probably the best match of his career.
Yeah. I mean, he can go, like, one of my absolute favorite moments in that match was when he came out, like, he jumped back into the ring and did Will's, like, little, superhero pose thing. I about died. I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. That was
a really good moment. Yeah.
He had a couple times where he was doing Will's moves and, like,
yeah.
And I was just like, you brilliant person. He like was wandering around after Blood and Guts, and hopefully he heard because he got close enough, and I was like, you killed it against Will. And he kind of came back over and gave one of the guys around him a fist bump. So I'm like, I think you heard me.
Good. But I hope that you did.
Because, oh my gosh, that was, I mean, and even she was into that. I mean, chick in front of me who had never
good about getting the people, pulling the people in that aren't really, because like my sister was talking about, and I've talked about it here before and on the last show, that when we saw them at Double or Nothing and it was the triple threat, and like Orange Cassidy a few times looked like he was gonna beat Kenny, and like my sister said the dudes in front of her were like, they were like losing it, and then when he lost, like they were pissed, and I was like, Kenny's not gonna drop the belt now. But it makes you see that Orange Cassidy is not just a comedy wrestler, like that people do want to see him with a title, even if it's the TNT championship or something like that. Like he is somebody that he, just because you can't write him off just because of what his character is, like he can go.
Well, and if you don't like it, you don't like it, but he's a good
that's
wrestler.
Fine. I'm sorry your opinion is wrong, but
that's, you're entitled to your wrong opinion.
Yeah,
man.
Exactly.
It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that match.
And I mean, and obviously the fact that FTR won those belts, and the fact that I mean, as the night went on and it became pretty obvious that the hope of this being an annual deal was high, and then eventually hearing the pay-per-view numbers, it was like,
you can't not have one.
I mean, I'm so glad, and I'm so because I mean, everyone that was there because they knew exactly what they were there for. And it was those kinds of things, those little matches where you got to see those people. The FTR thing is like, they gotta go to Japan. And Chris Charlton, I think that maybe they'll save him for there, so you kind of get him. The Atlantic Championship. I had a good chuckle because fortunately it was someone whose country touched the Atlantic. I know that JD Oliva would be very upset otherwise.
Right.
Because he was actually the first person I saw, and he's like, Me too. Someone touching the Atlantic. And I had another friend who was equally as angry and had been giving me a similar geography lesson in a just private thread. So I was very happy that it was someone whose country
touches
the Atlantic. But Pac winning that was a really nice. Yeah. Thanks.
And have you seen the match announcement of what he's doing? That he's defending it next Sunday.
I saw that there was so he is defending it next Sunday. He's defending
it next Sunday in Rev Pro against Shooter.
Oh, that's right. And that's the other thing I did want to totally call out to you, because
Shooter
and Connor.
I'm so happy for
Connors. Clark Connors.
Clark Connors was phenomenal. He had the big.
You want to talk about it? Like, I know everyone. I'm glad everyone saw it. That was a guy who had an opportunity and he took it. And
and if you miss BOSJ, like he had a really solid BOSJ, and I enjoyed seeing him on Strong, but like BOSJ, he took it to another level and showed how good he is, and I'm so glad that ended up and I hate that Ishii was not there. Like I really wanted to see him, but and people saw, of course, when Clark Connors, and they're like, you go from Ishii to Clark Connors, like how is that? Like he's gonna easily, like, people just assumed, and I tweeted earlier in the night, I was like, Clark Connors is going to show out. He did even more than I expected. And he, like, when he did the table spot, like where he speared what's his name through the table, like that was huge. Like, I'm so happy that he turned that spot into, like, he made himself a star. And people know who he is now. Like, you can't, he's undeniable. And the same thing with Shooter.
And that was the other thing, is those near falls.
My God.
Okay. Listen.
I saw how they were on
I
TV.
got to
I
a
can
point
only
where I was
imagine.
like, hey, I'm very fragile right now. Do not do this to me. Do not mess with me like that.
If Shooter had won that match,
boy. Dude. I think that guy's, that's a main eventer. That's a future main eventer right there. He's a star. Like, I don't even think that he realizes yet how big of a star he is.
Either, and he does.
But I think that's good. I think that's going to benefit him a great deal.
Yeah. But I think, and then they're putting him in the position. I wonder if he was already scheduled to face Pac, or if they were like, after that, you know, we've got to keep because, you know, obviously he's on excursion, and I don't know how much longer he's supposed to be.
He's been doing Rev Pro for a bit now too.
Yeah, and so I don't know if he's there for another year or how long he's there, but it seems like AEW is kind of planting seeds with him that at some point we're going to bring him here when we're able to. Like, we're going to use him.
He did an OTT too.
I think he did.
So
yeah, as they should, because and I've seen a lot of comparisons to young Tanahashi and Shooter.
You know what? That was on that show. That actually, now that you say that, I mean,
I can see that, and he's got that. I mean, that's a huge thing to live up to, because Tana is one of the best, and that's a lot of pressure to put on Shooter. However, I can see, you know, what they're talking about as far as, you know, the things that he's doing in the ring already. And he's like, how old is he? 27? If that, I can't remember how old he is, but he's early in his career, and he's already showing this much promise. And on the same token, you know, Clark Connors is young, and he's just taking these and it's really great to see these wrestlers getting these moments, and they're just running with them. And I mean, because look at, like, and then you even look at like Alex Zane and the success he had in BOSJ, and the fans just absolutely love him. And that he's already back over there. I believe he's back in Japan doing stuff. I think, I'm almost positive he is, or he's going back, something like that. And so they're really using him with stuff. And you know, Ace Austin got a lot of love when he was there too. So it's really nice to see these younger wrestlers, like, they understand, you know, how important these things are, and they're really running with it, which is really great to see.
I looked over at Bob, and I was like, no one told Clark Connors that he wasn't supposed to do well in this match.
No, they turned it.
He's apparently he didn't get the memo that he was supposed to.
Well, I'm glad he didn't get the memo.
No, man, he deserves every accolade that everybody has given him. I was so excited for him.
Yeah, at the beginning when he was on the buy-in, and that's where I made, because they were talking to him backstage, and they were talking about obviously the big horn energy and stuff like that, and he was talking about the Wild Rhino. And so a friend of ours was messaging us, and he was like, who is Clark Connors? And I was like, he's very good. He just had a good BOSJ. Just you'll enjoy it. And then that's when I tweeted, you know, he's gonna show out. And then I went back to that tweet later, and I was like, I told you. Like, he sure did. And so yeah, he definitely made, and I saw some people who were talking about, who are AEW fans, who weren't super familiar with New Japan, and they were looking forward to the show, because they're like, I'm looking forward to learning these people. Like, they're like, because I've heard the names. And so, and I think that they did a really good job of showing, like we've talked about before, like, obviously people, even if you don't watch New Japan, like, you know who Jay White is, you've heard Okada, you've heard Will Ospreay, like, you've heard these really big names, but there's people under them who are very, very good. Like, and so, and then you have guys like Clark Connors, who just finished, I mean, like, he just graduated from the dojo. Like, he's very early into especially in the New Japan experience, where, you know, you work your way up from the dojo, and you're a young lion, and you get these experiences, and he's already like having this much success. And then even Shooter, who is still, you know, he's out on excursion, and, you know, he's killing it in England, and he's doing, I mean, anytime he gets an opportunity on camera in AEW, he's done really well. And now he's getting a title shot next week, which is incredible. And I think that, you know, Pac was the right person to put this title on. I think that was really smart, because
really happy.
Yeah, Pac, because especially we all know what Pac went through in WWE and all that stuff, and then the pandemic really hurt him because he couldn't travel, and he was in the UK for a really long time, and he's he's done Death Triangle. I love them. I think they're phenomenal. They seemed like they may be, whenever the trios titles come in, they're obviously gonna be top contenders for that title. So it was nice to see that Pac, like, they still trust him, and they still, like, that's the guy that you put a title on, because he's the guy that can make that, because it's a brand new belt. He is the one who's going to set the tone for what that title is. And so we know he's going to go out and have phenomenal matches.
He's great. He's great.
Yeah. Pac was, because in that match, other than Clark Connors, anybody could have won that title. Like Malachi would have been an excellent choice. And who am I forgetting? Who else? Pac, Malachi. Why am I forgetting?
It's because so much.
But I mean, that you could make the case.
Sorry, I'm forgetting because it's all like.
Yeah, I was like, why am I forgetting?
Shingo. Was Shingo in that match? No,
it wasn't Shingo. It was Pac. Why? And I'm sure people are yelling at us right now. They're yelling at who the opponent is. And
it was Miro. It was Miro.
Yes, Miro. God, why did I forget that? Because I thought Miro was going to be the one. Like when the announcement,
I thought it was going to be him.
Miro, because he made the most. I mean, not that the other three, like you could make valid arguments for why each one of them should hold the title, and they would have been a fine choice. Like they're all three really great, and they would have been excellent. But because they just brought Miro back, and they're trying to reestablish him as this dominant wrestler, that's why I thought they were going to go with Miro in this situation. But they could, I mean, Malachi would have been an excellent choice too, but I think, looking at it, Pac is probably the best person to have this title right off the bat, because he's going to be the one who establishes it, just like we've talked about with Jade is the one who established the TBS title, and she's the very first champion of that. So then now and then obviously, Chris Jericho was the very first AEW world champion. So they're really good about establishing it and letting them define like what that title is right off the bat, which is really cool to see. So I think
it's kind of a crossover title, and he's worked a lot of different promotions.
Yeah,
so
and Pac can work with
sense.
Yeah, he works a lot of different styles too. He can adapt really well. So I'm looking forward to see what he does with that title. It
took people a while to see what he could do on AEW, but if you were familiar with him, and again, it's only because I follow OTT a little bit peripherally. Mm-hmm. It's just he was their champion for a bit, so maybe when he moved up to AEW. Yeah. So he's great. It's perfect, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see him do exactly what you're talking about, which is establishing a kind of a fun, kind of an open weight trans. I mean, I still feel like they should have just called it like the International Open Weight title.
I mean, I guess that's kind of like the U.S. title, because it gets defended by people. Like, you don't have to be an American to hold that title, but it does seem kind of weird to have, and look at how many Americans held the European
title. You put a Japanese and a Chinese flag on a belt and then call it the Atlantic title. It does confuse.
Yeah, it is a little. Yeah,
like, that was a little too American public schools.
Yeah, it was a little. Yeah, a little too.
Sorry,
on the nose with that.
Yeah, I said it. What?
Well, it's the truth. I mean, a lot of us were thinking it, and then especially if it had gone. What if it had been Ishii? What if
I actually am very proud of all the wrestling fans who were like, "That's bad geography." I'm like, "Good job, guys. Nicely done." See, we're not a bunch of dorks who don't know anything and watch a bunch of trash.
Yes. So that's such a fun show, and I was glad to see the women get a match, because I didn't think that was going to happen, and then they had an excellent match on top of that. Like, Tony was the perfect opponent for Thunder Rosa, and I like that they kept talking about how they both have ties to Japan, which is probably obviously on purpose, and so it was really nice to see. And I thought Tony looked great. I think that was probably the best match Thunder Rosa's had as champion. And it seems like they're finally getting back on track with her, which is nice to see. And I saw some people on my timeline, like, they were pissed that Tony didn't win. And I was like, well, I didn't, not that Tony, I think Tony could definitely be a champion someday, but I was like, Thunder Rosa's about to go to Japan. She's about to go to TJPW. I can not forget to let her. She's about to go to Japan. Taya has called her out, and though she's not defending her title in either thing, like you want her to go represent AEW as their champion when she's out there going to other countries. So like and other promotions. So I was like, it makes sense to keep the title on Thunder Rosa, and she's only defended it like 4 times. So I would have been really upset if she had.
Do you think they put the focus on the TBS title then while she's away? Is that
probably
what you think they're probably going to do?
Probably because, and another reason,
I mean, you kind of have to keep a women's title in the consciousness.
Yeah, and she
on television every week,
right? And Jade is she's 34-0, so I think she's clearly going to get to 40-0. The question is, are they going to keep her? Are they going to get her to 50-0? And how are they going to do it? Like they had Layla Gray this week on Blood and Guts, which was nice to see because Layla Gray, if you watch Dark and Elevation, she's somebody that they have used a handful of times for the last couple of years, like especially during the pandemic era. She's somebody that they brought in. So it's nice that they kind of gave her that little, that little moment. And then she had the stuff afterwards where she seemed to like be on the baddie's side and Kiera wasn't having it. And so it's interesting to see what they're going to do with Jade. She's clearly going to get to 40-0. I don't know if she's going to make it to 50 because Athena is right there. That is definitely a feud that's coming.
Yeah, and I mean it was nice to see her kind of come out and get into it.
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean that's who I want to see the belt on.
Yeah, I definitely I think Athena Athena is the best person I think to take that title. And Jade, like I said, Jade's been a great champion. She's a star. She's done really well. She's constantly improving and things like that. So yeah, it'll be interesting with, because I'm not sure how long the TJPW tournament or show is, because I thought it was a tournament, but then somebody made it sound like it's a one-time event. So I'm not 100% positive how that's, but Shida.
That would make more sense because if she's going away for a bit, you still need to keep something going on with somebody.
Yes. And I'm sure somebody is. I'm sure there are people yelling at us at the screen right now because we don't know what that is. And I
have something to say. You saw the Powerbombshells thing.
You did. It's right here. You can come tell us. But yeah, so regardless, it's a big deal that Thunder Rosa is going to be in that. And I think it's exciting for the partnership between, DDT. And so not only does AEW have this relationship with New Japan, but they still have the relationship with DDT. We see that with Takeshita and how often he's being used. So it's nice to see that the women are getting involved in that partnership as well, which is, something I had talked about, actually asked Tony Khan about if that was going to happen, and it is. And then we see, even though Willow is not signed with AEW, Willow's going to be there too. And so, and then whenever AAA, I don't know when the next AAA event is, but that's the one with Thunder Rosa and Taya. And I think it's for Taya's title. The AEW title is not on the line, but again, if she's going to go represent your company, then having her have that title is the smart thing to do. And so I think Tony definitely is an eventual champion, whether it's the AEW Women's Champion or if it's the TBS champion. I think Tony will definitely hold a title in AEW because she's only getting better, I think.
She feels like she's getting sort of back like she's really on track.
Yeah, she seems to really be finding her footing. Yeah, exactly. And her promos are really great. She's really strong on the mic, which is really nice to see. And so I definitely see good things for her, but I'm glad that they're getting back on track with Thunder Rosa and that they're seemingly, know what they're kind of doing now with her. Cause it kind of seemed like they didn't know what they were doing. And then, we've got the other stuff happening with like Nyla and Marina have, the Thunderstorm is what they're calling the tag team between Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm, which is cool to see. And having Nyla kind of I think putting her with Marina was really smart. They've wrestled a few times on Dark together. And I think because Marina is so serious and because she was not utilized well in WWE, she doesn't have obviously her characters and she's fine being a person who doesn't really talk that much. Like there's no issue with her just being out there kicking ass. But I think pairing her with somebody like Nyla, who is, she's a former champion. She's phenomenal on the microphone. She doesn't need Vicky. I'm still not sure why that's still a thing. Even though Vicky was not there the other night, I don't know if Vicky's taking time off or if they're slowly moving Nyla away from her, because it was like, not her whole point was to make Nyla champion again. That hasn't happened.
Yeah, right.
Nyla can cut a promo. Like, I mean, her promo on Rampage was fantastic. So like, they can have Nyla move away from Vicky, I think, and have Vicky do other stuff. And I know this got way off topic from where we were going with this, but yeah, so
that's okay. I mean, it kind of like carried over into the Blood and Guts thing,
yeah.
Which is, I mean, we don't have to go over the whole show or anything.
No, I was gonna say we can just talk about. So I guess before we get to Blood and Guts, Mel
before I got to Blood and Guts.
Yes, before she got to Blood and Guts, Mel has been in demand on the podcast. Mel got to go on another one. So she got to go on a podcast before she got to this one. I was like, don't make her tell all her stories before she gets to
No, the good news was I was live, pals.
You were live, pal. I'm very glad that you were. It was a very
quick and very unexpected and very gracious invitation to, hey, we need someone who was actually there to talk to us about Forbidden Door. Do you want to come talk to us? And so I got to hang out with Garrett and Andrew, and they're very nice, and we had a lot of fun.
That's so cool.
It was cool to actually sort of tell. And I was like, I'm sitting there in my head and I'm like, I'm not pulling all my stories on this. And also I knew it was just a segment. It was like, I knew I was only going to be there for a little while. So I was like, I'm not going to, you're not going to get all of it. You have to come listen to our show.
Exactly.
If you want my full journal and report back and, watching John Moxley being like a corner away from me and all that stuff, you're gonna have to wait. But
yeah, it
was such funny timing that we had bought the Blood and Guts tickets months and months before Forbidden Door was even a rumor. I went back through it in my head as I was sitting around Monday, and I was when they asked me Monday, and I was in the airport in Chicago. We were getting ready to fly home.
Well, I'm glad that you saw it before you got on the plane.
And so me too, it was pretty hilarious because I was sitting there at our gate, and it was, they were messing around with the plane or whatever and getting in, and I was like, I got that invitation, and I was like, that's hilarious. Because, here's me thinking, I'll chill out a little bit tomorrow. It's just, whatever. It wasn't like it took hours and hours. Though.
Yeah.
It was really great. And just everyone over there is so nice. And it was a lot of fun. And I love that show. So it's it was a really, really fun thing for me to like have that like interlude, I called it, between like this great show, this awesome podcast experience that was really cool for me, and then we got to do Blood and Guts, and it was the first time in Detroit, and bless you, Detroit, for being the crowd that I knew you would be. And I'm glad
were super into it too.
Oh man, that's the perfect stuff. The Sheik would be proud. He's so proud. Blood and Guts in Detroit GCW comes here a lot for a reason.
Yeah. So it made sense that they made that Blood and Guts because they're already familiar with the blood and the guts.
It's like there's a lot of working class people here who were coming from work, and I think one of the reasons you saw a little bit of an exodus during Rampage, and it was tough to keep that up, is that it was a 5 o'clock door, 6 o'clock bell.
It's tough.
And it's a Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's the middle of the week. It makes it tough.
I knew people that were coming straight from work. And it's like, if you don't work downtown, that can be, which most people don't.
Right.
Coming from the burbs. And again, we don't have the Chicago train. You got to do the parking and the whole
that's the same way with shows here too. Yeah, a lot of people come from work and we don't have the same We don't have the transit's not great either. Like we don't have subs or anything. So like this, so that makes it difficult. So for sure,
we had a lot.
I think they deal with that on a lot of the cities too.
A fair bit of people stuck around, and
That's good.
Tony, was like, "You guys are about to see the thing," and we were like, "Oh, what's the thing?" And it was like, "It's a Rampage Rumble," and it was like, "Holy crap! Another crazy match like this." And
yeah, you didn't have any downtime from the Blood and Guts main event to going into the Rampage opener.
There was some stuff, but it felt like, okay, let's move the cage.
Yeah, because that's a lot. Like you spend a lot of energy getting invested into something like Blood and Guts, and then you have to like come back down from it a little bit, and then prepare for a whole other hour of another TV show. It's a lot, especially that is a lot.
It was also well worth it. I mean, I wouldn't change.
Yeah, the Detroit crowd seemed super into it, and they love them some Danhausen.
Oh, well, he's from here.
Yeah, so. He is. I was glad to see him get that. He got a lot of love that night.
That was really cool. Yeah, exactly. That's.
And they loved and then Orange Cassidy though he got a really big when he wrestled Ethan Page. It seemed like he got a lot of. That was really smart to kick off the show with him because the fans were really into him too. Orange got a lot. I mean, obviously it didn't help that he just came off that fantastic Forbidden Door match, but like the fans really seemed to like, they were like super excited to see him, which was cool to see too.
Well, and Tony was like teasing a pay-per-view in Detroit, which it's like, I don't know, man. Don't calm down now. I love my town.
I was very excited.
I love my town, but it'd be tricky to do. Chicago's a good city for that. It'd be trickier to do that here, and I don't want to like, it's just something.
That might be a good place for like a Battle of the Belts type show.
Yeah, I think something like that. Again, Blood and Guts was perfect for Detroit.
Yeah,
it ended up becoming the premiere. The debut in Detroit. So I think that which made it a lot. And it was we had a spot we were watching in the morning. Eddie Kingston did a spot on our morning news that we actually watched. And he talked about how he wanted to come here and it was one of the cities he was pushing hard for. Good. And so he was even more over than you. I mean, every time Eddie was anywhere around, we were cheering for him. So I'm like,
it was great.
If it wasn't because they just love him, they also saw that Channel 7 interview this morning. So,
I was gonna ask. I meant to ask with this for the Forbidden Door stuff, but it also works because he was a part of Blood and Guts. But what was it like being in the arena when Claudio was announced?
Man,
I mean, it was loud on TV, so I can only imagine what it sounded like in the arena.
A lot of people knew
that it was going to be
when his music hit, they realized what was going on, and the minute everyone did realize, and I think that there was some. I know I had a friend who
I knew who I had heard. I was spoiled because it was already going around on Twitter, and I didn't see it there, but I went into Slack. Actually, a friend of mine sent me something and was like, have you heard anything about who it is? And I was like, well, let me go look. So I went to the Daily DDT Slack and it was right there. They're like, it's this person. Well, clearly it was Claudio. And so they were like, it's most likely going to be Claudio because there's like, they had something like signs or I can't remember exactly what it was. And so I went back and I was like, yeah, I know who it is. And he was like, no, it's too close to the show. I don't want to know. And I'm like, you just made me spoil it myself. I could have been surprised with everybody else.
I'm telling you now. You get to suffer.
That's what people were like. You should have told him. And I was like, well, it was in a group text, so I didn't want to spoil it for the other ones. But I did have a friend.
That's lucky it was in a group text.
Yeah, I did. And my sister was in it, and she didn't want to know. And so she was like, "Don't tell me." And so, but a friend who's in the group text texted me separately, and because his guess was obviously I think Claudio was probably like everybody's guess, but he wanted it to be Chris Hero, and he was like,
there was Chris Hero and Johnny Gargano were
and then Jonathan
Gargano even teased. He tweeted.
Oh, he was
the night before that
he was he was there for a card show on Sunday, and he was like, it was booked months in advance. I'm only going to be here for 8 hours. Like, and then he tweeted where he was at the airport, and he was like, I'm already on my way back. Like, I'm not going to be there. But,
you'll love how I spoiled it for myself, because I actually spoiled it in the arena by, even after I had been warned, because I stayed off Twitter once I had been warned by our Slack group that, like, if you don't want to know, stay off the Slack group.
Yeah, and when I got that warning, I had already spoiled it.
I stayed off the Twitter, and I was totally fine, but I was enjoying people talking about the commentary and stuff, and I scrolled one tweet too long.
Oh, no. Oh.
Thanks, Dave.
Of course, that's who spoiled it. Of course.
But it was really funny because I have a good friend who was very, 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 very excited that it would be Claudio. And when it was him, it was like,
good.
I mean, so it made me even more excited. I may have made up for a large amount of the cheering just because, but that was one of the, I mean, obviously the Okada and Tanahashi and Moxley pops were what they were going to be, but Shibata and Claudio were the two of the loudest.
As they should have been.
Those are the two biggest pops. And I mean, Muda at MSG was pretty big.
Yeah,
that was
I can imagine.
Really big one.
Mm-hmm.
I think people expected Claudio a little more than they expected Shibata. I think Shibata was more of a surprise.
Yeah, Shibata.
So I would say that Shibata's was slightly more, and I think that's because you have a universal understanding. That crowd understood who that is,
right,
and what
he means, and that it's a miracle that he's even standing in that.
And that he came out there and was messing with it, and
that stuff with Orange Cassidy was fantastic.
It was
so good.
But I mean, those are moments where it's like you can't really explain it to people, but whatever you saw on TV, it was that loud.
I can imagine.
People were that excited, and
it was great because I think most people had an idea, even if they weren't spoiled that it was Claudio. I think most people knew that it would probably be him. If it wasn't, because like you said, it was Claudio, Johnny Gargano. Jonathan Gresham is a name that I saw a lot.
Yeah, too, because, I saw that too,
which I wouldn't have been mad about.
I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, but then you go back and Danielson did he implied that it was a new signee, and then I think what really gave it away was when he specifically called out Eddie Kingston and said, "You said that I'm a judgmental prick, and it's because Kingston and Claudio famously do not like each other." And so I think when Danielson said that pretty much gave it away.
There was that was very clear.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could definitely see it on Wednesday.
Pretty much every time.
Well, even before Wednesday, when they did the thing to set up for Blood and Guts in the Forbidden Door.
You could see it on Forbidden Door. There was.
Yeah, you could. And John Moxley was just like laughing at Eddie because Eddie was
so.
Yeah,
I was like,
very animated.
That might be Shoot Mad.
Yeah, he's very. Yeah, I've talked to some people because I do know because some people have said that they have. I don't know if it's true. Some people think that they have like mended fences and they're like cool with each other now, but they're saying Eddie's so good at blurring reality.
He's a grudge holder from what I guess I've read. Which I can see.
Eddie's got his things and. Yeah, and so
we all have our thing.
Definitely. So, it definitely, if they do still, I mean, maybe they did make up and maybe they're cool with each other, maybe because they're grown men and they're so maybe they did, or at least maybe they've come to an understanding that like we have to share a locker room.
Well, yeah, the professional, I would think the professional thing would outweigh. And I do have a good feeling, I guess, that he would, I mean, we don't need to hang out.
No, that's fine. And I know it's a little bit different because now they're in a because he's in a faction with Eddie's best friend. So, but then you also have like, you could see at the end of Blood and Guts, when they were on top of the cage, well, because obviously they did the finish where Claudio stole the win from Eddie. So they're clearly going to have that later down the line. And whenever they have their feud, it's going to be incredible. But after the match was over, Eddie was sitting down and Claudio came over to him and you could read Eddie's lips and he said, it's my back. I can't stand up, but I'm fine. And so Claudio kind of patted his shoulder and went off, but then he came back and like tried to help him up. So it seems like, so maybe they did kind of, because obviously at the beginning of the match, they kind of like squashed it for that. And they're like, for one match only, we're getting along. But it did kind of seem like at the end, because then Claudio did end up helping him get up. And then they showed the damn camera cut, like Eddie was going for Claudio's hand, like his wrist to like hold it up. And the camera cut to whatever's happening on this end and they got it. And then I saw a shot later and you see Eddie picked up Claudio's hand. So it does seem like, so maybe they did, and so it's definitely that fine line of like, did they like how much of this is still real and how much of
you're always living on the edge,
because we do know that they famously like Eddie has been very vocal about like he said that, because I saw a quote the other day about how he says that when Claudio was on his way out of Chikara to go to WWE, he was supposed to put him over and he didn't. And he said, fuck him. He was like, fuck that guy. I hate him. Like, so it seems like there is legit. And so and now I don't know how much of that, is still there. And maybe it is the professionalism, or maybe they did bury, now that Eddie's kind of doing some stuff, like maybe they work things out, or maybe it's, it's definitely it makes it definitely more interesting with whatever's going to happen on camera and whenever we do finally get that feud with them. But it played out really well in the match. Like that match was intense, which and you had much better seats for this show, because I saw when you posted, I was like, oh wow, she's super close. Like
the trickiest part is that I'm only like 4 inches tall, so I only come up to the ring, and but fortunately my husband is tall, and I was in the process of doing it at this point because he took a bunch of the pictures and I'm just uploading them to a drive right now. But there were so many of them that he like came in here before I started up. He was like, they're still uploading. I'm like, uh-oh.
Well, when you're that close, it's hard not to take pictures. And like you said, yeah, because I'm short too. So it's hard for me to it's definitely.
I probably next time, just because it's a great venue, you can see from everywhere. Caesars Arena, really great. Like they actually gave a crap when they built that place. I would probably do like the first level bleacher seat, just enough to get me where my head is over everybody.
Yeah.
And I can stand in, because I mean, everyone can see over me. I'm never going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Unless you're a child, like you're not going to have a problem seeing over me.
Yeah,
and even some children have no problem. So.
Yeah, Nikki and I almost I looked at floor seats for the last AEW show because they happened to be open, but they were the back set of floor seats, and I was like, we're not going to be able to see if people are standing up because we're short. Like we're not going to be able to see anything happen. And I was like, so we ended up in it was like the 200 sections, but because of the way the arena set up, like the seats were still decent. Like they're still pretty good seats. And I mean, they were obviously a bit far back, but like we could see everything that was happening. And I was like, if we sit on the floor, I was like, we're not going to see anything. I was like, we're going to see the back of whoever's in front of us. So I was like, I'm not doing it. So I totally get you with that. It's definitely a short person problem.
I've got my air horn going off at the perfect time here.
Big pop
I don't know if there. You can I don't know.
I can hear it now. Is Big Papa Pump there?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Or maybe it's Jordan Grace. She is it too.
It's hilarious. So we have it. It's a multi-county thing, and they just sometimes just do it for whatever reason they feel like, and whatever. And
as if fireworks aren't going to stress out pets.
Right. Yeah, let's throw some horns in on there. But usually they do a noon sound off and the whole deal. Gotcha. But whatever. But it's sometimes just random. And I also live near a train, which anytime the train goes by, I just immediately call it out. I'm like, hype train. So I have a hype train.
My dog was barking earlier, and I was just like,
You know, I've listened to a lot of podcasts on a lot of networks, and those networks have paid people on them, and
touche.
and they have just as many dogs in the background. I know that it's not as cute when we do it as it is when Landstorm does it, but it's okay. I think you know, it's fine. I think it's fine. I think it's good that we all have lives in the background.
Yeah,
Plus,
definitely.
you know,
yeah,
it's probably
especially
maybe
so
it was like,
the,
hey, you need to wrap it up, lady.
Usually my microphone tells me when to wrap it up, so
you shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, it's fine right now. We'll see, but yeah. And also we're coming in where a lot of people do things on Zoom, and you hear dogs barking all the time.
Yeah.
So what would you say, like, between the two shows, like, I mean, clearly they're seeing two different types of shows, but were the crowds, like, would you say they were like equally, like, were they in it both sets in it all night, or were there like kind of some lulls into it where the crowd was just like, I need a break, or were they just pretty much hype all night long?
I would say of the two shows, the Forbidden Door crowd never calmed down. There was no, and again, I don't fault the Detroit crowd for, I mean, they stayed for Dynamite. We were up for Dynamite the whole time. Yeah. Everybody was in it for Dynamite. I don't fault the crowd and they did enjoy, and really we were doing our absolute best with the fact that a lot of people had actually started to leave for the Rumble that we got at the beginning there. And I think that it got a good reaction in general from the people that were there. I don't feel like I wasted my money in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I just think that the monumental, like, especially as the night went on, and regardless of who, you know, the fact, you know, Moxley winning the interim belt makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And even Tana would have, but Moxley makes sense, and that's great and fine and awesome, and he'll carry it wonderfully. And he's
and now he gets the crowd this time. Like people were talking about, you know, he was the first time he was champion, there was no crowd. At least this time he gets, because the fans are already obviously love that man.
Oh God,
he gets you, like the people love him, so now he gets that plus the title. And
I'll be rooting for him until even the day that he has. If he hangs on to it, which I fully expect him to, until Punk comes back, I'll still be rooting for him. No offense, guys.
Yeah,
but
no, I love Moxley. Mox phenomenal.
Is my man, and I'm all about it. And me too. That's especially, I think, really important.
And I'm really looking forward. You know, we talked about Rampage. So with Rampage, for hopefully people watched it, but if you didn't watch it, they had the first ever Royal Rampage match. I kept wanting to say Rumble, and I was like, no, there's no Rumble in there. I was like, there's an R, but no, it's Royal Rampage.
Because it was a multi-man match.
Yeah, it was. And so it was, I thought it was a really cool way to use the two rings that were already out there.
Mm-hmm.
It gives it, because this is an interim title, they can kind of do a little bit of experimenting with things. So we got a really cool match to name the first contender for Jon Moxley's interim title, and it was somebody brand new. It was not somebody we've seen before, which is what I really liked about it. So the match itself was really cool. So they had 10 men in the blue ring and 10 men in the red ring, and then there was one man from each ring, and then they fought, except for it was kind of one-sided because of Brody King.
It was a little A block, B block.
Yeah, it was a little bit of New Japan carried over there. Geta might have helped book this one a little bit.
A little bit.
So we had Darby, and so when the match started, 2 men were already in the ring before it even came on air. It was Powerhouse Hobbs and Darby Allin. No, not Darby Allin. It was Tony Nese were already in the ring, and then the 2 first televised entrants were Hangman Page and Darby Allin. And so Darby came in really early on, and Brody King was the last participant in his block or his ring or whatever. So it was really fresh, and he just basically ragdolled Darby Allin.
And now we get to see Jon Moxley and Brody King beat
I'm
the
so looking
ever-loving
forward to
crap
that.
out of each
Yeah, I'm
other.
really looking forward to that. So I was glad they went a new route and didn't do, because when I saw Darby, I was like, but Darby is the former TNT champion. Like I was like, we've done, not that I was like, I feel like they should do somebody new, give us somebody fresh, and they did. They gave us Brody, which I think is another thing that I really like about them doing it with Brody, besides the match is going to be awesome and they're just going to beat the crap out of each other, is that in House of Black, then obviously this is, Malachi's thing. Malachi is their guy. And Buddy Matthews is pretty well, he's pretty well established. Not that Brody isn't, but I think a lot of people, if they didn't watch Ring of Honor and aren't familiar with the indie scenes, that they may not have seen a whole lot of Brody King, and Brody hasn't gotten a whole lot of solo time. So I think this is a really big spotlight for him, and to show why he's important. And Brody and Malachi have the tag team titles in PWG. They wrestle as the wait, is it the Black Throne? No, the Throne of Black, I think is their name in PWG. And so they are the current PWG tag team champions. Brody's held tag team titles in ROH, which I think was another cool thing, because obviously there's the ROH tie-in there. And so I think it's really cool that they're giving Brody this spotlight, and to have him go against Moxley. And so Moxley gets somebody new to face. They've never faced each other in AEW before. I'm not positive if they've wrestled anywhere on the indies anywhere together, if this is going to be their first time. So I think it's going to be a really fun match. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm glad that they went somebody. And so maybe this is what they do for John's interim title. Maybe they just give him new people to wrestle, and just to see what he can do.
That's
kind of like an open challenge, sort of like they were doing with the TNT Championship, where they just brought people in for Cody. So maybe they just pick people off the roster for Jon Moxley. I mean, I'm sure we'll get, because I think when we talked about it on the stream, Kevin said that he kind of thinks that Jericho is probably,
well, that's got to be out there.
Gonna be. And I was like, and that's when we talked about we're all tired of Chris Jericho, need a break from him, but it seems likely that they're gonna go that route, probably at some point. But I mean, it does, he
has a tour coming up, and we won't have to.
That's what we were hoping. We're like, something a tour, I need a break from. I mean,
doesn't Fozzy need to go on tour?
Paul made a good point that JAS is he's helping people like Daniel Garcia 2.0 get main event spots, which is correct. Yeah, he is right about that. However, I just need a break from Chris Jericho. We all were unanimous about it's time for him to go on tour or to take some time off, and we need a little break from him.
Well, he's gonna be on his cruise coming, but that's a while away still.
I think it is a while away. But yeah, so it is what it is. But Jon Moxley versus Brody will be fun. Even if they do Jon Moxley versus Jericho again, it'll be good. And I'm glad that JAS did not win on Wednesday, because I thought that's where they were going with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was the plan, and then they didn't do that. And then that match was, I saw a lot of stuff, but I feel like I missed some things. And so I have it on my DVR because I want to go back and rewatch it, because I feel like I missed some stuff. Because I didn't even see Santana get hurt when that happened. I saw him.
Yeah, we couldn't see it from our side. I had to rewatch I rewatched the show and was like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't remember because we ate dinner late, and I don't remember if I was eating dinner then, or if I was that might have been or if that's when Miley was trying to go outside and we were trying to distract her, so we didn't have to go outside during the main event. So I can't remember which reason I was distracted and missed it. And then I was like, when they were all on top of the ring at the end, and I was like, wait a minute, we're missing something. And I was like, oh, that's right, he got injured earlier, because I had missed the entire. But that match was insane. And
good stuff.
Yeah, it was. And JS came out looking like a boy band, and was like somebody, I think it was Daily DDT, said they looked like they were about to shoot a music video from 1998, and I was like, as long as it's not Judas. I don't need a boy band version. I don't need that. I'm so tired of that song. And I was like, I definitely don't need a boy band version. And then my sister and I were joking. I was like, well, they could do the Blink 182 All the Small Things video, where they mock all the boy bands, and they mocked Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears, and all the 90s pop stars. They made fun of their videos, and that I was like, I mean, I guess they could do that, but
we'll see. We'll have to See what they come up with.
Yes.
As a boy band.
It's funny, and because Sammy on Sammy Guevara's blog, they were doing like a boy band thing for a little bit with Fuego and Griff Garrison and Alan Angels. They kept holding auditions and stuff like that, and then like Abaddon showed up one time, and like it was really funny. And then they joked about it. Ended up being like a really popular segment, and they moved away from it. And then a few weeks ago, they were joking about bringing it back, and then they never did. And now Alan Angels is gone, so I think he filmed. He's already filmed it. Last night he filmed an Impact match.
Yep.
Against Speedball
I saw
Bailey.
him tweeting. He was listing off. I'm like, dude, calm down. That's enough. That's enough.
Yeah, I just happened to see they're like, oh my God, he's in Atlanta against Speedball Bailey. And I was like, oh, that'll be good. But I saw Alan say that like he feels like because AEW signed him early before he kind of got his footing underneath him, and now
he needed the time on the indies.
Yeah, and I think that's really smart of him. Like I think that's because he's definitely and I saw a quote where he was talking about how Kenny Omega like basically made him, which he's very thankful for that one match that Ryan Satin was mad about.
Oh yeah, the one that ruined Kenny Omega's career. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the drama.
So much drama.
But yes, dramas. We should push our sponsor.
We should. I was waiting. I was like, well, let's get this stuff since we're in mid-story. So do you want to explain how it came about, or do you just want to push it? Part of it came about because because Mel did the awesome unboxing a few weeks ago because last week I was talking about the Carl Fredericks collection, and they were like, the way you say it, they were like, it sounds like the Carl Fredericks collection. It sounds like a cologne kind of, but
I think that's the perfect way to say it, because I think that the one nice thing about these guys, and here comes my Excalibur ad read here, is that they are trying to do like wrestling clothing, not just wrestling merch. And so I mean, the stuff is like decent quality, like it's really nice quality, and they do a really good job. And I mean, like I told you, here we go. I'm going to show you is that we don't just have the Carl.
That one's really cool.
We don't just have it. And this is one of my favorites, and it shows up super good on TV. So if you are like showing your friends, like trying to get your friends to see you on the floor, it's got the red. And I have a friend that we would like pick him out with it. And then
see? They know what they're doing.
Yeah, no, they're smart. They're smarties. And then this is like one of that. So I mean, if you can grab these on the website as well. And it's
apparently Miley likes that one. She's not even in the room, but she's barking, so she probably likes that one.
And I like a dingling just in talking to them thought that they were just giving us a special promo for the one day, but they were like, no, that's your code now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pop this up here so you can see.
It does have the Carl Fredericks collection on it, but if you go to canvastheory.com and use the promo code Powerbomb in the checkout there, you get 10% off your order. And they have like pins and a bunch of other little things too that you can, check out. And also, I mean, they're just beginning. It's a small business, but with high quality stuff. And they really, I mean, if you checked out the unboxing, is that there's a lot of special touches that they really put on it. And
they really do. Yeah, and I'm not a hat person. I'm just one I've never been one because I just think they look weird on me. But their hats are. I was looking at their collection. I was like, their hats are so cool. Like I love that Okami collection. Like I was like, I'm not even a horror movie fan, but I love the 3D hat that Carl has. That's a really cool one.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I really like the lucha. Like all their hats are nice. I was like, I'm not even a hat person, but I was like, these are cool. I like the way they look really clean, and they look like they stand. Like you said, it stands out.
So they actually like. I don't like ball caps. I am not a ball cap wearer, but I have actually really gotten like I wore my lucha. The lucha hat is basically mine because that's what I've been wearing.
I love that.
One I love the eyes and so it's
I love that design.
And I'm trying to like break in my Carl 3D one, right? So I wear that one around the house a lot these days. But I don't know. My husband says that I look good in every hat, and I'm like, but not ball caps. And he's like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. You look great. And there's pictures I am working on. I've got some on our Powerbombshells _ Mel. I'm gonna just drop that and like turn it into just Powerbombshells thing, but I've got that on there, and I'm trying to upload more. And
Yeah, so make sure you follow her on Instagram. I don't know that.
And I put some on Twitter just to make it easier for everyone to see, because Twitter has the picture feature too. But just follow us on Powerbombshells, and that helps us out too, because that just kind of goes back into the show, and it's really fun.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll get
and it was super cool of them.
Yeah, that's super cool of them. We really appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Well, when Mel told me that, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, it was a little mind-blowing. It's been such a crazy week. It's been hard to process. And
it was funny because, we just did the unboxing because she told me it was coming. I was like, oh, we should do an unboxing. So she was gracious enough to wait, have that little box sitting in her home, not being able to open it.
Two little boxes.
That's right. I'm sorry. I know you had 2 hats, but I forgot. That's right. They were in separate packages. And so I was like, she was very, and Bob, we thank him for being patient and waiting and letting us do the live unboxing. So this is and making him wait as well. So I appreciate that. And now we got this out of it, which was really cool. So thank you.
Well, and it's like, wrestling fans helping wrestling fans.
Yeah, and especially, we're a big proponent of helping small businesses, and obviously when it's a small business that's got quality product, that makes it even better. And then it happens to be wrestling themed, which is even better.
And they were nerds in the Forbidden Door with us. So all the love and wonder they were there to provide it too. And that's awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that it came. I'm so grateful and glad that all of those things were able to come through, and that Kevin and Steven and Paul and James, thank you guys. It was so fun to, that you guys were able
if it did take multiple, if it took 4 men to replace you, that made me laugh.
Yeah, it was I thought that everyone would enjoy that.
It did. You popped
Especially
everybody.
Since I love those guys, and
no, they were wonderful, and I'm so glad that they took time, especially because they were getting ready to, like, I took them for like 2 hours, and then like as soon as they were done, they recorded the boom like right after that. So they were so gracious with their time, and still took, I kind of took time away from them recording their own show. So I was really appreciative, and Paul got to join us later on because he started late, and I'm glad that he got to hop on too.
I knew you were gonna cave, Grandpa Does. I knew it. Just gotta throw that in there.
Yeah, and I'm so glad.
I was so like, ha 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 ha. I knew he would cave. I knew it.
Yeah, I was like, Mel wanted me to tell you.
I was a big believer that he was going to cave. I really did believe it. I think that he was too big of a wrestling fan. And I
Yeah, I think he said his wife was like, you're going to order it.
And a big bunch of love to his co-host on the Dynamite Show, Jeff Hawkins.
Yes.
Big guy. We love you.
We do. We are thinking of you this week. In case you haven't heard, he will be going in for a procedure on Thursday the 7th to have a tumor removed from his bladder. So we are sending him all of our love and support. We hope you do too. Please go find him on Twitter at I think it's at Crap Game
13. Yes. And give him some love and support.
You'll see, and we'll definitely tweet about it again on Thursday.
He's been a power bombshell too.
He has been. He was on our
hashtag not in Vegas with us.
He was, and so we are definitely, we're sending him all of our love and support this week, and wishing him a very speedy recovery and that everything goes smoothly. So yes, definitely a big shout out to him.
Cool.
And yes, but yeah, so I think we made it, good Lord, almost 2 hours. We had a lot to talk about.
Journal, okay? I had a journal.
Well, I told you this was story time with Mel Gray, baby. And that's what I'm probably I want to call this episode that, but then people might not. I was like, they might be like, what is that? And so
what is that?
I'm like, that'll be our subtitle, but then it'll be like Blood and Guts or something like that.
That's how we'll sell it to everyone this week.
Yeah, that's how exactly. But no, we couldn't have. I mean, you got to see 4 really cool shows, and well, technically 5 because of the buy-in. So she got Dark. She got the buy-in, Forbidden Door, Dark, Elevation, Rampage. And Dynamite. All in a 5-day period. So
she got the all about it.
Yeah, you got the and
she got
she got to go on another show to talk about it. So Mel has been very busy.
I don't think I did enough this week.
No, I don't think so either.
I'm such an underachiever. All right. We should probably get out.
Probably so, but yes, make sure that you're following us on the Twitters. Mel will be uploading some more pictures. We'll make sure we tweet the Instagram handle so that you can go see her awesome pictures, because it sounds like she's got a ton. Again, thank you to the Canvas Theory guys for giving us
everything.
For everything. So thank you to them, and we will likely be back next week at our regular time. Hopefully I will probably will not have watched any Deadlock Pro, but hopefully at least
we're gonna have to get back to the normal wrestling now.
Yeah, gotta get back onto Strong, especially because Strong will be here at the end of the month.
We have to catch up
and hopefully Haramu is on the mend and feeling better, and he still gets to come. I'm sad that he didn't get to, because that was the thing. Mel and I were talking about how we were both going to get to see Haramu, and then I had to message her and be like, Haramu's off the card.
Wow.
And she was like, what? I know, it was sad, but she got Shibata.
It'll come.
Shibata's a good.
Shibata was a pretty solid.
That's a pretty solid, not replacement, but you got him too. So
I mean, he's like the man.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, I enjoyed Storytime. I hope everybody else did too, and we'll be back next week